Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is I Don't Want No Huns, and if you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you have found me. If you are returning, thank you for being here. It is always wonderful to see you, as always. A little bit about me. I am a wife, a mother of two, and I am a part-time anti-MLM YouTube commentator, parodyist, comedian, all of the weird things that you find on my channel. Usually it's me in a wig doing something ridiculous. Today's video does come with a disclaimer, okay? There is a trigger warning. We will be discussing a topic that can be very bothersome to some viewers. So please be advised if you think that we are going to be talking about infantile death. And if this is a triggering topic for you, I would advise that you skip over this episode today. Everything in this video is going to be based on my own opinion. We are going to be talking about the MLM Young Living, their CEO, Gary Young, and now their current CEO, Mary Young. So information about Gary Young is based off of sources that will be provided in the description and is not an accusation of guilt. All of this information that we have is alleged, especially about Gary Young's early life. We don't have a lot of information that is confirmed or like definitely solid that this is about him. So we're, doing our best to kind of come up with what we have. But there are numerous other videos about Young Living, about Gary Young. I will put a whole bunch of them in the description below. But we are also going to be responding to a Instagram story that came out yesterday because there is something currently going on in Young Living, which is the reason why I'm even doing this video at all in the first place. So I will at times, many times, disagree with the woman who will be featured in the video. Her name will be omitted and her face will be blurred. I am not trying to draw any traffic to her account. And as always, please do not go and find her and leave any comments that would be shameful or try to shame her for her beliefs. There are going to be many times where I am going to disagree with what she is saying, but I respect her ability to stand firm in her convictions and leave the MLM, specifically Young Living, when things didn't feel right, even if the why of her leaving is different than mine. So as I just said, I'm going to say it again, as always, please do not seek out this individual or leave her any comments if your opinion of her faith is different than your own. Any questions posed here are rhetorical and meant for introspection. All right, let's dive in to Young Living. So really, this is going to be like a brief overview of Young Living because I do want to discuss what is currently happening that we are seeing on our Instagram stories. But before we do that, if you're new to knowing what Young Living is about, I want to give you a little bit of a brief rundown. So I asked a bunch of my followers on Instagram for some resources, and they did not disappoint. This morning, I listened to the podcast Behind the Bastards, which is so funny because my husband has been listening to this podcast for easily over a year and telling me about it and telling me all these stories. And Behind the Bastards, just so you know, is a podcast that covers all of the terrible people in the world. So they did do, they've done, they did an episode on Gary Young. They've done episodes on, current terrible people who shall remain nameless. But they've also done episodes on Hitler. And so anyone that can be categorized as a horrible human being, Behind the Bastards has covered it. So I listened to that podcast this morning to give myself a little bit more of an understanding. I also understand that The Dream has a podcast episode about Young Living and Gary Young. We are going to look real quick at this website, Essential Oil Kits by Lance, because it has a pretty good timeline. And I'm going to put it right here on the screen so that you can follow along with me and see what I'm looking at. It has a really good timeline here of what's going on. And it also says an update of if the original website is still there, if it's gone. So we see that he was born in 1949. It was updated to say that it was 1949. It says that he pursued a career in logging and ranching, but at the age of 24, he suffered a near-fatal logging accident that left him in a coma for 3 weeks. He was left unparalyzed and went through depression as well. Now, it says here in 1974, after 3 years after his logging accident, Gary began to regain feeling in his toes and legs and eventually regained complete feeling and mobility and could walk again. Now, on Behind the Bastards, they said that they found a source that says that he drank exclusively water and lemon juice And that's how he claims that he regained feeling in his toes. Okay. Behind the Bastards also says that he like shattered his skull, was in a coma for a while, and just a lot, like suffered a lot. So it could stand to argue that it is possible that he would have suffered some like traumatic brain injuries, right? That's what we would think. But whatever. All right. So, all right. Gary was unsuccessful. 1981. Okay. Well, actually, let's go to 1980. He attended the Maurer Institute, but dropped out after only taking a few classes, doing about a third of the homework, and owed them $1,880 in tuition, which he denied. But there is a source for this. Then this is where this gets interesting because it happens again. Gary was unsuccessful in an underwater birth attempt with his previous wife, Donna. Gary was warned by deputy prosecutors and caseworkers to not continue, so he backed off and the child was born another way instead. So he tried to do an underwater birth attempt. It seems like, I don't know what they mean by he was unsuccessful, but the child was then born, and I guess, okay. This is where things get dicey. On September 4th, Gary's previous wife, Donna, was pregnant again, and the birth was carried out in the whirlpool bath of Young's East Side estate in Spokane, Washington. Sadly, the child did not survive the underwater birthing process. The Lake County coroner, Louis Shank, stated it was a perfectly normal, healthy-looking girl. There's no reason why she would have lived. So if you listen to the Behind the Bastards podcast, they say that he held the baby underwater. If you listen to the Behind the Bastards podcast, they have a source that shows that he held the baby underwater for 60 minutes, believing that the umbilical cord would provide oxygen. I have not suffered a miscarriage or the loss of a child, but even the thought of it really makes me it's just really hard for me to even like talk about these things because I can only imagine the devastation. He was not arrested for this. It was ruled accidental, which I don't know how you look at that evidence of holding a baby underwater for 60 minutes. And anyhow, he was then, he was arrested a year later though, for gross misdemeanor conviction for practicing medicine without a license. Now, we're going to see this a lot with Gary Young, that he just really wanted to be a doctor, but didn't want to do the things necessary to actually become a real doctor. So I'm going to skip over a lot of this because, like, this is just too much. But from 1990 to 1994, he went to France. He studied the process of distilling essential oils. And in 1994, this is when he founded Young Living Essential Oils. So in the world of essential oils, apparently Gary Young is like the person who is the head honcho, made them a big deal. Okay. Then Gary married Mary. Say that 5 times fast. And they went to I love this. They flew to an essential oil conference in Grasse. I should know how to say that, in France, which doubled as their honeymoon. Oh, how sweet. How sweet. All right. Then if you go through this, you see a lot of issues. In 2000, Young Living Facility in Payson, Utah incurred 11 OSHA violations, totaling $8,900, and 1 employee was killed. In 2005, the Young Life Clinic settled a lawsuit with a patient who claimed that infusion of vitamin C had caused renal failure, almost killing her. As a result, Gary closed the Utah clinic and opened one in Ecuador instead. Super legit. Former Young Living COO was fired in August 2007. There was unequal discriminatory pay for women, the diminishing quality of many Young Living's essential oils. So then the quality of it is being like, everyone's saying that it's crap, basically. I don't know how else to put it. 2014, the FDA issued Young Living a warning, noting that the health claims for their products causes them to be drugs because they are intended for use in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of a disease. So this is where we really saw, I'm assuming this is where it really started to take off, that people were starting to say that essential oils are going to cure diseases. I can't. Listen, I have used essential oils before I became anti-MLM. I still have a couple bottles of doTERRA that I never bought. People, I found that doTERRA reps just like give you oils all the time, probably because they have so much. And I have like no problem diffusing oils in a diffuser. Using peppermint when I have a sinus infection. Everything has a place and time, but I very much practice modern medicine as well. Well, I don't practice. I receive modern medicine as well. 2015, he stepped down as the CEO so his wife could take over. 2016, Young Living's, this is interesting, Young Living's cinnamon bark oil, which is a big part of the Thieves blend, which I think is like a weird name for any blend or brand or whatever, was submitted to an independent lab by a longtime member and user and concluded that it had been adulterated with synthetic cinnamaldehyde. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. Then they had to drop charges against doTERRA for baseless allegations. On September 18th, Young Living was fined $760,000 for illegally sourcing spikenard oil. In response to the fact above, listen, there's a slew of things that are super eyebrow raising, right, in Young Living. And the reason that I'm showing this to you is because I want to paint the picture or give the perspective that as a person, like let's just take out the fact that it's an MLM. Let's forget for a moment that this is a multi-level marketing company, okay? If I knew any of this information about the company I was working for, I would have to take a long, hard look at if I really wanted to align myself with this type of company. Okay? It's important that we establish that baseline for what we're going to look at next. If you work for a company where there are so many things in its history that are extremely problematic, potentially lethal, definitely criminal, and you're just like, meh, I really like oils, so I'm just going to do it. I'm not sure how people can justify that. But again, to each his own. Now, one of the other things that we have seen a lot in MLMs, and I talk about it frequently, is faith manipulation and how multi-level marketing companies really use Jesus a lot. Now, let me give you some quick background on myself. I identify religiously, faithfully, I don't know what we want to call it, but I identify as a recovering Catholic. I say recovering Catholic because I do definitely identify as a Christian. I myself believe that Jesus lived. I believe he is the Savior. I believe that he died on the cross. I can't exactly tell you why I fully believe that. It's not so much, it's a mixture of, I was raised Catholic and told this is what we believe and you will believe it. And another part of mixture of, I believe in the miracles I see every day. I believe that Jesus is in us because it's something that I feel. And I have absolute respect for anyone who disagrees with me, because a lot of times I look at what I believe and I think that does sound crazy, but I also don't think it sounds any crazier than what other people believe. And so, crazy is as crazy does, I guess. I don't know. I think that religion and faith are two different things. Personally, this is my opinion. And I believe very strongly that religion, faith, Jesus have no place in any business unless that business is specifically selling religious materials. So for example, if I go into a religious bookstore, I'm going to assume that the person who works there is also a Christian, right? Or a religious person, somebody who believes in the product that they're selling. I would find it very hard to believe that any atheist is going to walk into a Catholic bookstore and say, I want to work here. But that's what that business is. But multi-level marketing companies, which are known to scam people and are unethical on every account, there is absolutely no place for your religion and your faith to be in there. Now, I also want to establish that even if I very, very fervently disagree with what you believe, if somebody believes in something completely different than me, and I think it sounds absolutely batshit crazy, I respect anybody who is able to hold on to their beliefs and their convictions. Where it becomes a problem for me is when those beliefs are presented to me as this is the truth and you're wrong. It can be your truth, a religious thing, but it doesn't have to be my truth, because faith is how we feel. Faith is what we experience, and everybody experiences faith, God, Jesus in very many ways. My best friend is an agnostic / kind of atheist and very much against religion, but she is my best friend, and her difference in opinion on Jesus and religion has absolutely no bearing on our friendship. My mother is a very devout Catholic, and that really doesn't have much of a bearing on our relationship at all. I respect my mother for having her convictions and believing what she believes so completely. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of those beliefs, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to disrespect my mother or anything, okay? So I want to lay that out, because what we're going to listen to is an Instagram story where a Young Living rep is explaining why she left Young Living, but then something new was presented to her, which I'm going to have some problems with. I want to preface this by saying she is entitled to believe what she believes when it comes to religion and faith. Let's listen to what she has to say and do some commentary, and we can just go from there, okay?
Hi friends, if you have been around our page for very long, you know that we worked with Young Living Essential Oils for about 7 years. We still are huge fans of essential oils. We know exactly how they work and what they do and what they did for our health. We worked with Young Living. We got to basically...
I just want to preface, I don't know what those claims are. I've never seen this woman before in my life. My gut instinct, anytime I hear someone say what essential oils did for my health, my gut instinct is like a giant eye roll. However, this is America, and she is entitled to believe that. And even if I fervently disagree, and maybe she would be an anti-vaxxer, at this point, I don't care. That's not the point of this video. So I just want to state, me saying, anything about this is not saying that I agree with her statements about oils doing things for her health, but I am also not bashing that she believes that oils did anything for her health. I'm neutral on that stance, okay? But she is a diamond rank, or was a diamond rank.
Second to the top of rank with Young Living. And after getting to that top rank of diamond, you get to see a little bit behind the curtain, and you get to see a little bit more behind corporate and the way things are run. And after a little while, we started to see that this company that we had, really worked with and really believed in was not what we had signed up for. It was something just different, and we couldn't really pinpoint it. We heard some things, and we saw some things that didn't agree with our spirit, but it was just something we just knew something. We knew something had changed, and we prayed really hard about it, and we walked away. We resigned our account with Young Living 5 months ago. We resigned our checks, everything, and that was a big decision.
So they are using their faith and their religion, as she says in the caption, after a lot of prayer, we walked away and resigned our account with Young Living. We weren't scared even a little bit, because we knew God was calling us to slam that door shut. Listen, I have absolutely no problems with this statement. If that's how you feel, if that's your connection to God, if that's how you communicate, and if that's how you make your decisions, more power to you, absolutely. I just want to preface that I have been very vocal about using any kind of faith to recruit and manipulate people to join the MLM. Now, that's not what we're seeing here. So I'm not going to make any assumptions that she has ever done this. Maybe she has, I don't know, and it's completely irrelevant at this point. So I really hope that in the comments, nobody says, well, she's done, I don't care what she's done in the past, okay?
Our family, because it was a huge part of our income, but we knew that the Lord was calling us out of that. Yesterday evening, I got something in the mail, this book, from Young Living, and it is written by their RCD, a Royal Crown Diamond. The foreword is by CEO and Mary Young. She's the CEO. It says, "To Dear Diamonds." This book is honestly one of the darkest, most demonic books that I've ever had in my house.
So I want to just talk about the word demonic. I have found that a lot of Christians, in my experience, use the word demonic to talk about anything having to do with witchcraft, sorcery. I knew someone once to tell me that we should not watch Harry Potter because it praises the occult and it goes against the Bible. I don't, listen, I don't believe, in my opinion, I don't believe that witchcraft is demonic. I don't. I don't know that I believe in it, but I don't have a problem if someone tells me that they are a witch or they practice witchcraft. Cool. Like, I don't know that I believe in that, but I would want them to respond to me in the same way as if they say I'm an atheist, and I go, cool. Like, I don't care if you're an atheist, and I hope that people don't care if I don't necessarily know if I believe in witchcraft. I have lots of friends who do tarot card readings, which I don't know if that even falls into the witchcraft realm. And I'm super interested in how people interpret tarot cards, but the few times I've had mine read, actually I think it's been twice, I don't know what I get out of it. I don't know that I feel anything really. You know, I think the first time I just thought like they're just kind of making stuff up. But the second time it was read by my best friends, then I thought, well, she just knows me. I don't know. So my opinion on that is very up in the air. And so, but I don't disrespect anyone who does believe in it fully, just like I would hope nobody would disrespect me for believing in Jesus Christ. Okay? So she's going to talk about this book. And this is where we're going to start to see why I wanted to talk about Young Living's past.
I cannot wait to get rid of it, but I knew that I had to share this. The things that they're saying for people to do, basically a seance with oils, things that they are wanting.
Listen, I would love to be, I've never had the opportunity to be part of a seance. I would love to be a part of a seance, and I'm saying this as a Christian. I think that would be amazing. What I believe at my core is that all of the things we believe are all connected and are just completely different interpretations of the exact same thing. So in some way, I feel like a seance is no different than a lot of things that we do in church when we, on Easter, Good Friday, and Easter Vigil or whatever, if that makes any sense.
Hang on. Forget it. There's no way I'm going to get through this without tearing up. One of the quotes that you're supposed to say as you put these oils on you, and I quote, "I am the resurrection and the life of my lineage." There is nothing more false than that, than taking Jesus out of it and putting yourself in there and putting yourself as Jesus. That's just so dark and demonic. And believers, you have to know that this is written in black and white and handed down to people. You're supposed to hand this down to your team and put this in their households, and know that this kind of stuff is a slow trickle. You let this into your house and it will completely ruin you. Another one is so false as well. Jesus taught the use of oils to the disciples, not the masses. Jesus didn't do that, and the fact that his name is in this book makes me it's really
okay. So the one thing that, like I said before, that really kind of gets under my skin when it comes to discussing faith and religion is when people say this is false and what I believe is true. That's my big problem. When I say, this thing happened in the Bible and they say it did, it absolutely did. This is true. This is exactly what happened. Well, that's my big problem. So when she says things like, this is false, that is not true, I find it problematic. Okay.
And another one is I am sovereign in my God self. So we are little gods. Again, so false. Another one is I am the brilliant mind of my creator. So we are God's mind. And I don't know what the founder of Target...
If I'm God's mind, then I would be way smarter than I already am. If I'm God's mind, then I would know all the secrets of the universe. And last time I checked, I don't.
their beliefs are, or Anthropology, or any of my favorite stores. But I know that if they sent me a book like this, it would be the very last second that I ever spent a dime with them. Young Living, none of their products will ever be in our house ever again. And I just want you to know that, like, leaders, you know you got this book, and now this is in your hands. And so if you hide this from your team, you are condoning this behavior. This is going to be at your conventions. This is going to be everything that you do with Young Living. And if you do condone it, that you are handing down this spiritual warfare to everyone in your team. This is so much bigger than money. This is so much bigger than the day-to-day life. This is eternal significance that you have in your hands, and you've got to rise up and stand up and run from this. There's no amount of money that should keep you in bondage to this company with this as a leader.
Okay, so she says hold to read. So why don't I do some reading for you? Dr. D. Gary Young, ND. What does the ND stand for? Not a doctor. Aromatologist and founder of Young Living Essential Oils, taught me the science, application, farming of the world of aromatherapy and essential oils. Gary said, essential oils are the heartbeat of the planet kingdom. And when we really understand that, we realize this heartbeat is the energy that was created to sustain life. The world of essential oils is a reawakening of our planet, and if it is not respected and treated kindly, the knowledge that can come through will be lost and will never surface again. What? The pure intelligence of essential oils may be the only tool that can reach into the deep recesses of our brain, cross over the chemical barriers, and open the hidden channels of our mind. Allowing access to greater knowledge and discernment in reaching our highest potential, to become more Christ-like, to communicate without speaking, to focus our thinking, and to be able to manifest our thoughts into reality. We want to raise our frequency so we can heal ourselves and then help others heal themselves. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I'm assuming that this is what is in this book that she sent. Okay, so, and I'm just dying at the Dr. D. Gary Young. What? Like, did you, okay. Let's see the next part. All right. What is this from? Marion taught me in 1976. Oh, this is going to be good. Essential oil is the essence of the marriage of the earth and the sun through photosynthesis. Okay. The human body is made up of many bodies, not just physical. What is that? What? The thought forms attach at different parts of the body. What does that mean? Thought forms have short-circuited our best efforts. Oils protect from all kinds of friction. Mechanical? Well, yes, oil in your car is definitely important. Mental? Physical? Maybe. Emotional and spiritual. Oils keep the parts from rubbing against each other. The barriers... I'm sorry. I just, that line. Listen, if you believe in essential oils and what they do, I'm not trying to crap all over it. I really am not. I don't really believe that they do all of whatever this is claiming, but if you believe it, that's fine. That number 6 is just okay, moving on. The barriers, doors, and chakras have 7 major openings which connect to the endocrine system. I think I've read that that's accurate. I don't know. I don't really understand a lot about chakras either. Whatever. Chakras are transformers like electricity. Chakras, the gate of feelings, are the only point of entry or exit of our thought forms. Reactive patterns make prison doors of our chakras. Oils loosen the hinges. Oh my gosh. Oils open the gates, energy centers of chakras of our bodies that only open from the inside. Resentment, jealousy, anger, fear, guilt, blame, shame, or lust, or whatever, are thought forms. The most sainted of us have hidden prides, pleasures, fears, and thought forms to redeem or trade in on good God energy. Okay, so our thought forms, I need a good definition of thought forms. We require the blocks taken out, transformed, and our good energy redeemed, unlocked, and freely expressed. We have created these blocks. We can transform them. Oils help reverse old thought forms, patterns, and habits of thought, allowing us to upgrade the pattern into our highest choice. This is the biggest amount of word salad I have ever heard. The oils are volatile and move freely in the unseen finer bodies or aura. What? They're volatile? According to this book, I am is not God. We are. I am. Hard no. I mean, I have to agree. I do. I mean, as a Christian, I am is God, right? Like, okay. Note, I am comes from within. The oils are lubricating the memory of light, sunlight, the restoration of light in us. Yikes. This book is definitely a little problematic, and then it goes through the different ways that your face, listen, this book is definitely not something that I understand, and I don't want to crap all over it. I'm getting to my entire point. I promise you, we're getting to it. When I say flee from this, I mean it as fast as you can. I am made all new. I move forward with grace and ease. I reclaim my spiritual attunement. Attunement? I thought it was atonement. In alignment for my highest good. I am the resurrection and the life of my lineage. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're into witchcraft or something and that's like a witchcraft thing, I receive directly from my divine mother all I require in my creative expression. I mean, listen, my mother gave me a lot of my comedy chops. So, I don't know. I think that's true. If I'm going to call her divine mother. But my mother would say, no, she's not the divine mother. My word made flesh, awakening your health and wealth through the words you speak in 7 revealing steps. Guys, this is the beginning of a cult. Like, if I didn't already think that MLMs were a cult and Young Living, they're trying to use their oils. This is very cult-like behavior, especially when they're saying your health and wealth. They're trying to get you to believe that you're going to become wealthy from this. Yikes on a stick. Big fat no. All right. So here's why I'm like bringing this up. This is what made you not want to partner with Young Living. This is what, like, that was that the straw, or was that the first red flag for you? Listen, and I say this out of absolute respect. I have no problem with what you believe as a Christian. Okay, you can believe whatever you want, ma'am, miss, friend, sister, whatever you want to call. And I hope that you do not take this as me bashing you. But my big issue with all this, and I am all for a mass exodus of Young Living. Everybody get out. Sound the alarms. Everyone mass exodus. Go. Get out. I have no problem with that. I just want to call to light that this is what caused you to say, ugh, not for me. It wasn't the fact that Gary Young allegedly killed his infant. It wasn't the fact that he had been posing as a doctor with actually no substantial doctor credentials at all. Nothing that is listed in his life before you joined 7 years ago was a major red flag that maybe you shouldn't join with this particular company in general. And I'm not even talking about multi-level marketing companies. I'm talking about this company. This is why I get so frustrated. Because it's not like all of a sudden you putting this video out, not so that you sent me this video, you putting this video out on Instagram and all of a sudden you're like, what? Young Living has a storied past? We all knew. If anyone's been paying attention to any of the content creators that have covered Young Living, we know that they have a very checkered past, and it is not a good look for them. And that there are still many Christians who partner with Young Living and use their Christianity to hawk their oils. But this, witchcraft was the line that you weren't able to cross. I just think for me, it feels oddly, I don't know that I want to use the word hypocritical. And I want to say this to you if you end up watching this, but to anyone who maybe agrees with her, I just feel like why, I want to know, why is this the thing that is the most egregious? Why is this the witchcraft, the putting out the book? I mean, clearly it's problematic. Even if I practice witchcraft, the fact that it sounds like a cult, it's very cult-like. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it should be anything like this. But again, I'm sure that there's more that's going to be uncovered. I'll maybe have to make a part 2 if we get more information. But my big question is, why was this the final nail in the coffin for you? Nothing else mattered. Or did you just not know? Did you not know about Gary Young's very troubling past? I find that hard to believe. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully you all got a little bit of an education on Young Living. And if you have any thoughts or comments, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to know your take on what is going on with Young Living and get your opinions. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And as I always say, through kindness, education, empathy, and patience, we will create a lasting movement. So please, everybody, keep calm. Have a good day.